I've been working as a college professor and scientist for the past 15 years. The most common job-related question that my students ask me is,
the biggest lesson I've learned as a teacher is
every student I speak to is worried about the same thing.
I could go back and do it all over again. This is what I would change.
Hello, my name is Jack Wang. I'm a scientist professor, and in 2020 I was named the Australian University Teacher of the Year. On this channel we talk about science, tech and careers, and today I will attempt to make my favorite genre of YouTube video, a day in the life or job shadowing, pretty much a sneak peek into the jobs and careers of people from all walks of life. What is it like working as a scientist and college professor? My job, especially during our busiest time of the year, week one of a brand new semester. Today, I'll try to show rather than tell. I better get going. I'm gonna be late.
The weeks leading up to a new semester are filled with writing, thinking, and lesson planning before any student shows up to class. All of that builds to a crescendo on day one of week one, which means I pretty much can't get any sleep the night before. Up by 5 a.m., high protein breakfast if I can, then a quick double check of my tech EDC. This didn't used to be a thing really, but with online teaching and live classes via Zoom or Teams, there are tech essentials that I really need to pack, otherwise I can't do my job. Charging cable for my phone, productivity and ergonomic wireless mouse from Logitech. A charger for my laptop. I'm a Mac user, so the M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro is my machine of choice. And of course, trusty AirPods Pro. These are the second version, but Gen 1 are really great as well. And then do a quick double check of everything, shoes on, out the door, and off on my commute to campus or before 6 a.m. First things first, to the lab. Setting up a few experiments, checking on bacterial cultures. Once I get to my office, the morning can go one of two ways. I'm either planning my own projects, executing that plan, then reflecting or evaluating, or the alternative, I'm reacting to urgent requests, managing crises, and rescheduling my diary to fit everything in. Being able to do both well are really equally important in my job because it is unpredictable. The morning flies by, then it's time for class. Online classes are first up today, and I need to check my microphone, my webcam, and lights are all working okay. I've set it up so that I can do it all from my office, but I'm often running to in-person lectures right after an online class. But it doesn't really matter if it's face-to-face or online. Inevitably, every student I speak to is worried about the same thing. No, not what job they're going to do. That usually comes later. No, not what's going to be on the test or exam. Well, of course, yes, but that comes a little later, not usually on day one of week one. Every student is worrying about being embarrassed, humiliated even, in front of their friends, strangers, or worse, their teacher. This fear can be paralyzing, and really it's counterproductive for learning new concepts or skills. Putting yourself out there is a scary idea, but out of the 100,000 students I've taught over a 15-year period, maybe less than 1,000 ever came up and talked to me after class. That's less than 1%, and it's a real lost opportunity. Always be polite, introduce yourself by name, and try to ask an interesting question. I promise you your teachers will remember that encounter and remember you, because it happens less than 1% of the time. The true value of higher education is not about the facts you memorize during class. It's about the people you meet and the professional networks you start building for your careers. Speaking of which, I'm running late again, this time for meetings. Committee meetings, research student meetings. Look, I know Elon Musk loves the idea of leaving meetings early or immediately if you don't have anything to contribute, but I do my best to only be invited to meetings where I can actually contribute. But the thing is, the more you learn, the more you can do, the more you can contribute, and the more meeting invites come your way. But before the day finishes, I go back to the lab to check on some experiments and ride back home, this time to pack.
The thing about college professors is that we are judged by our national and international impact. Traveling to conferences is the lifeblood of the profession, and if we want to succeed, we really can't stand still. I am lucky enough to be invited to a conference in our nation's capital, Canberra, at a meeting where all of the leaders, managers, politicians, and technology vendors will be discussing legislation, policies. Now, normally the conferences I go to are the scientific ones on really specific genes, proteins, molecules, but this one will be much more big picture, and it's actually a really big opportunity. The price of admission is that someone else needs to cover my week one classes. I've personally built a career covering for everyone wherever I can, so hopefully now I can cash in a little of that career capital. I got to this point by actually sidestepping a trap that many teachers fall into, which is teaching the same classes and topics every single year. Yes, I did that for a long time too, but look, I try to add a new class or topic to my repertoire every single year. The biggest lesson I've learned as a teacher is how to recalibrate what I am communicating for different target audiences. First year versus final year students, or science students versus medical students, academics versus policymakers. That's the challenge this week. These communication soft skills transcend the discipline that we're in and can be transferred into any job, career, or context. This conference will be the ultimate test if I have enough reps in talking about teaching or learning to a completely different audience. But to get there on time, it would have to be a 3 a.m. wake-up call.
The most common job-related question that my students ask me is, how do I avoid choosing a career that I will become bored with? The biggest lesson I've learned is that communication and transferable soft skills will be the thing that propels your career forward more than anything else. Having the opportunity to learn those communication soft skills and apply them in a bunch of different contexts is the biggest benefit of having the reps under your belt as a teacher and communicator, to be able to translate that communication and connectedness and relational empathy with the audience that you're talking to. That is the biggest plus of having taught this many lectures over this many years. This is a really exciting opportunity to be here, because I'm not just in Canberra to attend, I'm also here to present. And this is an invitation based on all the work that I've done, both on this YouTube channel as well as the Teaching Award. I was invited on a panel to share my thoughts about how we should approach learning and teaching in our sector. A lot of adrenaline rush to really get up there and present in public. I've given 1,000 lectures. These talks should be really easy. Well, the truth is it never really gets that much easier. It's always difficult. You're always filled with nerves. It's perfectly okay to feel like you've got nerves before any kind of big event, let alone a public speaking engagement. There are talks where you have slides and you're presenting to the slides, and it's more under your control as a speaker. You're advancing the slides, you're talking. Yes, you've got a time limit. Yes, there are questions at the end, but really it's within your control more or less. This invitation to speak is in a panel discussion forum where there are 3 other people on the panel and a chair. And the chair's role is to ask the panel questions as well as field questions from the audience. So it is much less predictable. The chair was kind enough to walk us through some of the topics that we'll talk about, but the order will change. It's always good to get some feedback from the audience. If you have no response whatsoever and you don't get asked a single question, that's probably indicative that the discussion wasn't very stimulating, or maybe it wasn't quite relevant to that target audience in the room. I received lots of questions, also connected with a lot of people who I don't normally get the chance to connect with. I chat about the work that I'm doing, try to find synergies in the work they're doing. I think it's totally okay to leave one of these professional working events with just one new contact. That's enough. I'm fortunate to have met way more than that, and this can be a path towards any career that you decide to follow. And I think my main takeaway for students who are worried that they're going to be stuck in a career that is filled with things that they are bored by and aren't stimulated by intellectually, you don't have to follow this career path as a professor and scientist. So hopefully you get to see that I'm doing a whole range of different things all within the span of a week. And I've fought for all of these opportunities and different types of activities to keep me going and keep me stimulated, precisely because I've developed a very transferable employability toolkit that begins and ends with the communication skills that I've learned. I'm back at the hotel now. This is late at night, and I've got to catch up on some emails. I've got student queries, student questions. I've got committees that are coming in. But anyway, the conference usually gains momentum and it finishes really quickly. And before you know it, I'm back on the plane.
Oh, I'm back home now. This video is a little longer than a single day, more like a week in the life. Like many professionals, I wasn't exactly sure how I ended up here. I really had to go back and count it out. 15 years, 1,000 lectures, 100,000 students. And I could go back and do it all over again. This is what I would change. I wish I would have been more proactive in finding a mentor who could have told me all of these things 5, 10, 15 years ahead of the game. We are nothing without our professional networks, the people we know. Now I'm back home, but the cycle doesn't stop. Tomorrow morning, it's right back to experiments, classes, starting new projects, resolving crises, and putting out fires. Hopefully not too many all at once. I'm Jack Wang. Thanks for stopping by. This has been a day in the life of a professor and scientist. Hope to see you in the next video.